All right, let's dive into the world of Thomas Newman, one of the most innovative film composers working today. You might not know his name, but I bet you've heard his music. American Beauty, Finding Nemo, even Wall-E.
Oh, absolutely.
And he creates such a unique sound, you just know it's him, even across those wildly different films.
It's true. He really does have this incredible ability to adapt his style, but still keep a distinct sonic fingerprint. What makes it even more interesting, I think, is that he comes from Hollywood royalty, the Newman Dynasty of composers.
Oh, wow.
His father, Alfred Newman, scored over 230 films and won 9 Oscars.
Talk about pressure. But our sources suggest that Thomas actually, at first, tried to avoid following in those footsteps.
Yeah.
He was initially drawn to musical theater, even writing a musical called Three Mean Fairy Tales.
Interesting, yeah, and that early experience, though unsuccessful, it turned out to be a crucial turning point for him because he learned a lot from that process. Yeah. And it ultimately helped him find his own path. You know, our sources mention how an encounter with Stephen Sondheim.
Sondheim himself?
Yes, the Stephen Sondheim played a significant role in guiding him towards film scoring.
That's incredible. What does Sondheim tell him?
Well, he encouraged him to embrace the opportunities in front of him.
Okay.
Which ultimately led him away from musical theater and into the world of film. Now, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Thomas's compositional process is truly unique. The sources call it conceptual composition.
Okay.
Which goes beyond just writing notes on a page.
I'm intrigued. What exactly does conceptual composition mean?
It means that he's not just composing for the musicians, right?
Okay.
He's composing for speakers. He's thinking about how the music will ultimately sound. In the finished film, blending seamlessly with the dialogue, sound effects, and, the overall cinematic experience, he actually said, the terrible thing about a script is sometimes it tells you the wrong things about the movie.
So he's saying that the music needs to respond to the film itself?
Yes.
Not just the initial ideas from the script?
Exactly. And that's why he avoids using temp music.
Oh, interesting.
Those placeholder tracks that directors sometimes use.
Mm-hmm.
He finds that temp music can be very limiting because it kind of locks you into a certain sound world before you've even begun to explore your own ideas.
So how does he approach it then? Does he just lock himself in a studio and let inspiration strike?
Not quite. He actually gathers a ton of material.
Okay.
Old ideas, sketches, new musical snippets, He calls it his spice rack.
Okay.
Full of sonic flavors that he can try out against different scenes. It's a very iterative process.
So it's more like he's experimenting and playing around with different ideas until he finds something that clicks.
Exactly. He's constantly trying things out, seeing what resonates emotionally with the scene, what evokes the right mood and atmosphere.
Okay.
And this is where another key element of his process comes in. Collaboration.
Collaboration. So it's not just a solitary endeavor.
Not at all. He thrives on the energy and creative input of other musicians. He has a core group of collaborators, some of whom he's been working with for decades.
That's really interesting. You mentioned that he studied at Yale. Did his collaborative approach stem from his academic background?
It's actually quite the opposite. Yale in the 1970s was a hotbed of avant-garde and experimental music,
Right.
which he struggled with. I mean, not that he was opposed to those techniques, but he was also drawn to more tonal music and musical theater, which weren't as popular in academia at the time.
So where did this love of collaboration come from?
Well, after Yale, he had that pivotal encounter with Sondheim,
Right.
who encouraged him to be open to different opportunities. And this led Thomas to play keyboards with a band called the Innocents, and later with a really unique experimental group called Tokyo 77.
Tokyo M77, that doesn't sound like your typical classical ensemble.
It wasn't. They were all about improvisation and pushing musical boundaries.
Yeah.
Imagine experimental atmospheric soundscapes, almost like a modern-day version of music concrete, where they used everyday sounds as musical elements. It was a huge departure from traditional orchestral scoring.
Ah, I see. So that's where it clicked. These early experiences, the struggles at Yale, the mentorship of Sondheim, the experimentation with Tokyo 77, all shaped Thomas's unique approach to film scoring.
Exactly. They laid the groundwork for his collaborative spirit, his love of unconventional instruments, and his ability to blend acoustic sounds with electronics.
Yeah.
He took those diverse influences and created a whole new musical language for film. And if you think about it, his aversion to the traditional ego of a composer makes even more sense in light of this background.
That's a great point. It's like he's carrying that spirit of experimentation and shared creativity into his film scoring work. But let's talk more about these collaborators.
Yeah.
What role do they play in his process?
Well, the sources give us some fascinating insights into his recording sessions. He often starts with a small ensemble, which might include George Doring on guitar and various stringed instruments, Michael Fisher on percussion, Steve Tavalgione on woodwinds, and a wind synthesizer called an EWI, and John Beasley on keyboards.
Wow, that's quite the lineup. What happens during these sessions?
It's a very collaborative and improvisational environment. For example, George Doring mentioned how Thomas might pick up on a musical phrase Doring played while just warming up and suggest incorporating it into the cue. It's like Thomas has this incredible ability to hear musical potential in the most unexpected places. And it speaks to his willingness to let go of the idea that every note has to be meticulously pre-planned.
That's fascinating. It sounds like a really playful and creative atmosphere.
It is.
But what about the more unusual instruments you mentioned earlier? Does he bring those in too?
Oh, absolutely. He's got a whole arsenal of unconventional instruments.
Oh, wow.
Things like the pezzator,
Hazeder.
which is played with a bow and has tuned rods that create these unique percussive sounds. And then there's the Guitarzilla, a massive custom-built steel guitar.
Wow, a guitar. I can only imagine what that sounds like.
It's quite something. He also uses instruments like the Maui Zephoon, a type of bamboo saxophone, and a variety of world instruments like the hurdy-gurdy and the kol. He's not afraid to experiment with sounds you wouldn't typically hear in a traditional orchestral score.
So walk us through a typical recording session. How does it all come together?
Well, the sessions usually start in the evening. Larry Maw, the digital audio expert, sets up his Pro Tools rig, while Tommy Vicari, the scoring mixer, prepares the recording environment and microphones. Then Thomas will come in, choose a cue to start with.
Okay.
And he's got all these collaborators and instruments at his disposal. It's really starting to paint a picture, isn't it, of why his scores are so unique.
Yeah.
But does he come in with fully written out charts for everyone? Not always. Often, he won't have written detailed charts at this early stage. Instead, George Doring might do a quick breakdown of Thomas's demo, noting key elements like bar numbers, meter changes, chords, and motives.
So it's more like a musical roadmap than a complete score?
Exactly. It's more like a sketch that allows for a lot of freedom and improvisation.
Okay.
Then Tommy Vicari will get a mix-up on the board, and they'll start recording, usually one musician at a time.
So it's like building the music layer by layer.
Yeah.
With each musician adding their own unique contribution.
Precisely. And Thomas is there, guiding the process, offering feedback, and encouraging improvisation within the harmonic and rhythmic framework he's established.
That sounds incredible. It's like controlled chaos in the best way possible.
It is.
It must be amazing to be a fly on the wall during those sessions.
You can imagine. They might record upwards of 100 tracks experimenting with different instruments, sounds, and textures.
Wow.
It's all about capturing those spontaneous moments of creativity and then shaping them into a cohesive whole.
Okay, so we've got the small ensemble recordings. What happens next?
Then it's time to bring in the orchestra.
Oh, wow.
They take those meticulously crafted cues to a larger studio, where Armin Steiner, a master at recording orchestras, sweetens the music, while Thomas conducts. It's another level of sonic layering, blending the intimacy of the small ensemble with the grandeur of the orchestra.
It's starting to sound like a sonic tapestry with all these different threads woven together. But there's one person we haven't talked about yet who seems to play a crucial role throughout the whole process. Bill Bernstein, Thomas's music editor. What exactly does a music editor do in this context?
Oh, he's involved in pretty much every aspect of the scoring process. Early on, he might help with temp scoring, but he's also involved in spotting the film with the director.
Oh, spotting the film.
Yeah, that's where they decide where the music cues will go and how long they'll be.
Okay.
Bill will also sit with Thomas and give feedback on the music,
Uh-huh.
help keep track of any picture changes that might affect the score, and attend those small ensemble recording sessions.
So he's like a musical right-hand man, making sure everything runs smoothly.
Exactly. And his role doesn't stop there. He helps prepare for the orchestral recording sessions, programs the streaming software, and ensures all the logistics are in place. And during the final dub, where the music, dialogue, and sound effects are all combined, he acts as Thomas's representative, advocating for the music and making sure it's balanced with the other audio elements.
Mm.
He might even make edits on the fly.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility. He must have incredible musical and technical skills.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds like he needs a healthy dose of diplomacy, too.
Absolutely. He has to be a master of all those things.
Yeah.
And according to our sources, he's also a great friend to Thomas. He described Thomas as a brilliantly talented guy, sensitive, often insecure, with tireless attention to detail.
That's a really insightful portrait of an artist.
Yeah.
It's clear that Thomas surrounds himself with people he trusts and respects, both musically and personally.
Yeah.
And based on what we've heard so far, it seems like that's a recipe for creating truly unique and memorable film scores.
It certainly is. And I think that collaborative spirit is key to understanding his music. He's not afraid to share the creative process, to let go of the ego, and to embrace the unexpected.
All right, so we've got a good understanding of his process and his collaborators.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the music itself? What makes Thomas Newman's scores so distinctive? What are those musical fingerprints that make you go, ah, that's got to be Thomas Newman?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what we'll be diving into next. All right, so let's unpack those signature Thomas Newman sounds. Those musical moments that make his scores so instantly recognizable. And remember how we talked about conceptual composition?
Yeah.
Composing for the speakers.
Right.
That really comes through, I think, in his brilliant use of layered sounds and textures. He's not just thinking about melody and harmony, he's creating this immersive sonic experience.
Okay, give me an example. What's a specific cue where we can really hear those layers at work?
There's this beautiful cue from Little Children called Bandshell. It starts with this simple pizzicato motif on the strings. Just a few plucked notes, very delicate and understated.
I think I know what you're talking about. It's got that melancholic, almost wistful feeling to it that I always associate with Newman's music.
Exactly. And as the cue progresses, he begins to add layers. The violins come in with a soaring melody. Then a pedal steel guitar adds this shimmering, almost ethereal texture. And there's even some subtle electronic sounds weaving in and out.
Wow, so even though it starts simply, it gradually builds into this rich, multi-dimensional soundscape.
Precisely. You can hear how he's using each instrument not just for its melodic or harmonic qualities, but also for its unique timbre, the color and texture it brings to the music.
It's almost like he's painting with sound,
Yeah,
creating these sonic landscapes that draw you into the emotional world of the film.
that's a great analogy. He's a master of orchestration, and he knows exactly how to blend those instrumental colors to create a very specific mood and atmosphere.
Speaking of atmosphere, another thing I've noticed about his music is this really cool use of drones.
Oh, yeah.
You know those sustained notes that create a sense of ambiguity and tension?
Ah, yes. Drone harmony.
Yeah.
That's a hallmark of his style. It's like a sonic foundation on which he builds the rest of the music. And what's fascinating about it is how it allows him to stretch the tonality.
Yeah.
To blur the lines between major and minor keys.
So he's taking these traditional instruments and creating these really modern, almost unconventional harmonies.
Exactly. It goes back to his experimental work with Tokyo 77.
Right.
They were all about pushing boundaries and exploring unconventional sounds. He brought that sensibility into his film scores, using drones to create these unsettled, sometimes even dissonant harmonies. There's this cue called A Tour of Pleasures from Scent of a Woman, where he does this beautifully. There's a blub pedal tone, a low sustained blub note that runs throughout the entire cue.
Okay.
And above it, he has these triads moving in parallel motion.
So imagine this low resonant blob holding steady, and above it you've got these chords shifting and changing that always anchored to that blob.
Precisely. And the way he voices those chords, The specific spacing between the notes creates this really open, spacious sound. It's almost like the music is floating, drifting in and out of focus.
And that blob pedal tone makes it hard to tell what key the music is in.
Right. You got it. That's the beauty of it. It creates this wonderful ambiguity. It could be in blob minor or maybe drop major or maybe somewhere in between. He's intentionally elusive, and that adds to the emotional complexity of the music. He actually described his approach to harmony as modal stretching,
I love that.
using these drones to stretch and bend traditional scales and modes.
Modal stretching. That sounds so evocative. It's like he's taking these familiar musical building blocks and warping them into something new and intriguing. Okay, so we've got layered sounds, drone harmony. Anything else that screams Thomas Newman?
Oh, definitely. His signature piano style is another hallmark. He has this thing he does with 3-note chords. It's incredibly effective.
3-note chords. I'm not sure I follow.
So instead of playing full 4-note chords on the piano, he often uses these open voicings with just 3 notes, often spread out across the keyboard.
Okay.
It creates this sparse, almost minimalist texture. But it's also surprisingly expressive.
Interesting. So it's not about cramming in as many notes as possible. It's about using those three notes strategically to create a specific mood.
Exactly. He talks about finding the essence of an idea and not being sentimental
Mm.
or overdoing it with too many notes. It's about letting the space between the notes breathe and resonate.
Yeah.
And he doesn't always use those three notes in a traditional harmonic way.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, it's not always about clear-cut major or minor triads. He plays with those building blocks of harmony, but he often uses them in unconventional ways, creating these ambiguous, sometimes even dissonant chords.
Okay, so he's playing with our expectations, making us question what we're hearing. I like it.
Exactly. And this three-note style appears in so many of his scores. Take Brooks Was Here from The Shawshank Redemption. It's this heartbreaking cue that perfectly captures the loneliness and despair of the character. It's almost all piano, just those delicate three-note chords, and yet it's incredibly powerful.
I get chills just thinking about that scene. It's so emotionally resonant, and Newman's music is such a huge part of why it works so well.
Absolutely. And then he uses that same three-note approach in a completely different way in a cue called Road to Chicago, from Road to Perdition. This time it's more driving and rhythmic with a pulsing energy. But you can still hear those signature open voicings and those slightly off-kilter harmonies.
Wow, so he can evoke both intimate, melancholic moments and these more propulsive driving cues, all within that same three-note framework. That's pretty impressive. It's like he's found a secret formula for creating emotional depth with just a handful of notes.
It really is remarkable, and it speaks to his versatility as a composer. He's not afraid to experiment and adapt his style to fit the needs of the film.
Now, we've talked a lot about his piano style, but he's also incredibly skillful with string writing, right?
Oh, absolutely. His string writing is so evocative. He can create these lush lyrical melodies, but he can also use strings in a more textural way.
Yeah.
Almost like washes of color, creating these shimmering, ethereal soundscapes.
Give us some examples. I'm dying to hear how he uses strings in different ways.
Well, there are these two cues from Little Children that showcase his range beautifully. One is called Tissue, and it's got this unexpected Baroque-inspired feel. Very elegant and restrained, almost like something out of a Bach prelude.
A Bach prelude, that's fascinating. I wouldn't have guessed he'd draw inspiration from Baroque music.
It's true. And he uses these really interesting diatonic harmonies and a circle of fifth progression, which is pretty unusual for him. But he makes it work so well. It's beautiful and haunting at the same time.
So he can surprise us with these unexpected influences. He's not afraid to step outside of his usual style and try something different.
Exactly. And what's even more fascinating is that this cue tissue actually contains the rhythmic seeds for another cue in the same film and title.
Wait, so he's taking a rhythmic idea from one cue and transforming it into something completely different in another cue.
Precisely. It's a brilliant example of how he develops and reworks musical material. And the end title cue is completely different in mood and texture. It's still got that Baroque influence with a minuet-like feel, but it's more expansive and emotionally charged.
So we have two very different string cues, both rooted in this unexpected Baroque influence. He's really playing with our expectations.
He is. And it shows how he draws inspiration from a variety of sources and then filters them through his own unique lens. But of course, we can't forget about the electronics.
Yeah.
Those are such a key part of his sound world.
Oh, absolutely. He was one of the first composers to really blend acoustic instruments with electronic textures, and he does it so seamlessly.
It's true. He's a true pioneer in that regard. There's a great cue from Road to Perdition called Meet McGuire, where you can really hear that fusion at work. It starts with this atmospheric wash of electronics down. Sounds almost like a sonic fog.
Okay.
And then this driving four-measure ostinato kicks in. It's like a pulsing heartbeat.
I'm starting to hear it in my head. It's got that unsettling, almost hypnotic quality that can be so effective in film scores.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as the cue progresses, he brings in these live instruments, clarinet, percussion, strings, but they're all interacting with those electronic textures, creating this really unique sonic tapestry.
So it's this constant dialogue between the acoustic and the electronic.
Yes.
Blurring the lines between those two worlds. It's like he's creating a whole new sonic language.
That's a great way to put it. And there's this incredible moment where the clarinet comes in with this soaring improvisational melody. It's Steve Tavalione on the EWI, that wind synthesizer I mentioned earlier. It's just magical.
Okay, I'm definitely adding that one to my listening list. But with all these different elements we've talked about, the drones, the piano, the strings, the electronics, is there a unifying principle, something that ties it all together?
There is. And this is where it gets really interesting from a musical theory perspective.
Mhm.
The key to Thomas Newman's sound lies in his distinctive harmonic language. He uses these open voicings, often with parallel fifths and fourths, chords built on intervals of fifths rather than the more traditional thirds. And he loves to create these ambiguous modal harmonies that blur the lines between major and minor. It's like he's creating his own musical system, his own set of rules.
You know, you keep using the word ambiguous to describe his harmony.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to understand why. It's like he's intentionally avoiding those clear-cut resolutions that we expect from traditional harmony. He wants to keep us guessing, to create this sense of unease or tension.
That's a great observation. He's a master of creating tension and release in his music, but he does it in a very subtle, almost subliminal way. And it all stems from a pivotal moment early in his career. He was working on a film called Rapture.
Okay.
And he came up with these two chords that he described as very Charles Ives-ian.
Charles Ives, the American composer,
Really?
who is known for his really experimental dissonant music.
It's the one.
Like clashing keys and rhythms. What do you mean, Ivesian?
That's the one. And these two chords, they're deceptively simple, but they contain the DNA of his entire harmonic language. They're like a musical Rosetta Stone that unlocks the secrets of his style.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. Break it down for me. What are these magic chords?
The first chord is built on stacked fifths, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. It creates this open, spacious sound. But it's also harmonically ambiguous because it doesn't clearly define a key center. It's like a musical question mark, full of possibilities.
I see. So it's not grounded in any particular key. It's floating, waiting to be resolved.
Exactly. And then the second chord is where things get really interesting. It's an augmented triad, D, F sharp, A sharp. Now, augmented triads are known for their unstable, unsettling sound. They don't occur naturally in traditional scales, so they tend to create this sense of tension and dissonance.
Okay, so we've got this ambiguous chord built on fifths
Right.
and this dissonant augmented triad. What happens when you put them together?
That's the surprising part. When you play these two chords together, they create this strangely consonant sound. It's like the dissonance of the augmented triad is tempered by the openness of the stacked fifths. It's a really unique and unexpected combination.
So he's finding beauty in the dissonance, creating something new and compelling out of these seemingly clashing elements.
Exactly. And these two chords, they became the foundation for his entire harmonic language. He started exploring variations on those voicings, experimenting with open triads, parallel fifths and fourths, and those ambiguous modal harmonies.
So even though he's grounded in those two Ivesian chords, he's built this incredibly rich and diverse harmonic vocabulary around them. He's taken a simple idea and turned it into something truly remarkable.
He has. And it's one of the reasons his music is so compelling. It's familiar and comforting in its use of traditional instruments, but it's also constantly surprising us with these unexpected harmonic twists and turns. He's speaking a language we understand, but with a unique accent and inflection that makes it all his own.
And that language has been incredibly influential. Many film composers today are drawing from those same techniques, creating these immersive, harmonically ambiguous scores that owe a debt to Thomas Newman's pioneering work.
That's right. He's not just a master composer. He's a true innovator who shaped the sound of modern film scoring.
Okay, so we've explored a lot of what makes Thomas Newman's music so distinctive. The layered textures, the drone harmony, the signature piano style, the evocative string writing, and of course those Ivesian chords that underpin his entire harmonic language. But there's one more piece of the puzzle that I'm really curious about, his personality and how it influences his music. We touched on his humility earlier, but I'd love to delve into that further.
That's a great point. His personality definitely plays a huge role in shaping his music, and that's what we'll be exploring in the final part of our deep dive.
We've covered so much ground in our deep dive into the world of Thomas Newman. We've explored his fascinating family background, his unique approach to conceptual composition, his love of collaboration, and those signature sounds that make his music instantly recognizable. But one thing that really struck me is his humility.
It's true. Despite all the accolades and his undeniable influence, Thomas doesn't seem to have a big ego about his work. In fact, our sources suggest that he actively tries to avoid that kind of composer is genius persona.
Which is so refreshing, especially in a field like film scoring, where it's easy to get caught up in the Hollywood hype machine.
He actually talks about this in one of our sources. He says, the idea of composition kind of strikes me sometimes as egocentric. I want to get away from an aspect of composition that says, look at me. Look at all my great ideas.
Wow. That's a powerful statement. You rarely hear that kind of humility from a composer, especially one who's achieved so much. It's almost like he's saying that the music is bigger than him, that it's not about showing off his own brilliance, but about serving something larger.
I think that's a really insightful way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think that humility is a big part of why he's so successful as a collaborator. He's not afraid to let other people's ideas shine, to incorporate their creativity into his own vision. Remember how George Doring talked about those moments where Thomas would encourage him to use a musical phrase that Doring had played just while warming up?
Yeah.
It's like he's always listening for those unexpected sparks of inspiration, and he doesn't care where they come from.
Right. It's not about ego or ownership. It's about being open to the possibilities, to the magic that can happen when you let go of control and embrace the unexpected. And it's not just about humility, is it? He's also incredibly playful and experimental in his approach. He's constantly trying new things, pushing boundaries, embracing those happy accidents that happen in the studio.
Absolutely. Think about those two Charles Isean chords that we talked about earlier. Those two seemingly simple chords that became the foundation of his entire harmonic language.
Right.
It's amazing to think that such a simple idea could have such a profound impact. It's like he stumbled upon a hidden doorway in the musical universe and then spent the rest of his career exploring all the amazing rooms and corridors that lay beyond it.
It really makes you wonder what other sonic treasures are out there just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah.
What other musical doorways might we find if we're open to exploring, to experimenting, to letting go of our preconceived notions of what music should be?
That's the beauty of music, isn't it? It's a constant process of discovery, a journey without a fixed destination. And Thomas Newman's story is a testament to the power of embracing that journey, of being open to the unexpected, and not being afraid to take detours along the way.
So what does all of this mean for us? What can we learn from Thomas Newman's approach to music, to collaboration, to life?
Well, I think his story offers some powerful lessons. First, it's a reminder that sometimes the most innovative art comes from embracing those unexpected detours, from being open to influences outside of your comfort zone. Thomas didn't set out to become a film composer, but he was open to the possibilities, and look where it led him.
Right.
Second, it highlights the incredible power of collaboration. Thomas's music is so rich and layered because he's not afraid to share the creative process, to let other musicians' ideas influence his own. And finally, I think it's a call to approach our work and our lives with a sense of humility and playfulness.
To embrace those happy accidents, to be open to new ideas, to collaborate with others, and most importantly, to never lose that sense of childlike wonder and curiosity that drives us to explore and create.
Beautifully said. And I think that's a message that resonates far beyond the world of music. It's a reminder that the journey is just as important as the destination, and that the most fulfilling experiences often come from embracing the unexpected and collaborating with others along the way.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Thomas Newman. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question to ponder. What does Newman's aversion to traditional compositional ego reveal about the future of music in a world increasingly dominated by technology and collaboration? Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep diving deep.